So nice to see everybody. First off, I'd like to welcome all of you clowns. But anyway, I would like to welcome guests and members of Class 40. Can I see a show of hands? Any guests and members of Class 40? Whoa. Now, the members of Class 40, we're not going to be able to call that for very much longer. You guys realize you're
That's right.
getting close to graduating. April, they are going to graduate, aren't they? I mean, you're going to give them the final, but you're pretty sure. You realize there's a final, right?
We will get you through
It's
it.
only 10 or 15 pages long. I'm joking in case you didn't get that. Some people take me seriously when I say stuff like that. All right, so I have one thing I just want to mention before we get into approving the minutes and all that good stuff. Anybody who has not picked up their membership card, and I wanted to say this before I forgot it, on the desk where you sign in, there's a little box that has membership cards. Melva, I know you're here. Yours is in there. So if you haven't gotten your membership card, please stop by on your way out. It's in alphabetical order.
And you have to have it if you want a 10% discount when you go to Maldonado.
Yeah,
Or when you go to Fanning Commercial and that kind of thing.
yeah. So it's a useful thing to have.
Yeah.
There are also a few of the like 10-year service awards that are out there in a box next to it. So if you've been here for 10 years or longer and haven't gotten your service award, you might flip through that and see if it's in there. All right, can I hear a motion to approve the minutes? I hope everybody took time to read the minutes from last month's meeting, right? I have a motion to approve the minutes. April, second. Kathy, Adams. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Now we're going to do our usual reports for our officers. And first up is Claire. Now I want you guys to be very nice to Claire. Claire has, although on second thought, maybe not, because she's going on this fantastic vacation. But she has, for various reasons, resigned. I know there's a remote here someplace. She has resigned as treasurer, and next month we will be holding an election for the treasurer position. She has done a fantastic job for us, and we truly appreciate it. But this is her last presentation, so be kind. Besides which, she's going to Iceland and Norway and stuff on vacation. Yeah.
Give it up for Miss Claire, folks.
All right, as you can see, the bank balance, the cash balances have gone up almost $5,000 from February to March, and that's predominantly because of the plant sales. So they've been doing all the good. So we had like $8,200 in plant sales in March, and that's a great job. They were busy every weekend. I don't know if any of y'all worked all of them or some of them. I bet you did. Somebody was there every time. Anyway, and then the plant sales expenses that I have so far are $950 for March. So it's got quite the profit. And Grow Team, go Grow Team, woo! And let's see. Anyway, so overall for the month of March, our net receipts in over expenses is $5,000. So that caught our deficit up for the year, which means we're $1,900 to the good for the year. If any of that makes sense to anybody. Yeah? Okay. And then the other thing I'm going to report, there was a request from Ernestine Sykes for the St. Andrew's Garden. They didn't have a budget, they had a zero budget request for 2025. They didn't anticipate having any expenses. Well, they were gifted 4 or 5 raised beds. And so the church was helping with that and doing this and that. And so then she asked if Master Gardeners could do the soil purchase. And so the board approved to spend $450 for soil, a one-time thing. So that was not budgeted and the board paid that. So that's all I have. Any questions?
Anybody have any questions for Claire?
Perfect.
Okay, thank you. As you can see, we're in good financial shape due to the hard work of all of you who have worked on the various plant sales and other fundraising activities. So I want to thank you again as I look forward to spending money. I think up next is going to be Beth Smith. I don't know how I can possibly blank on the last name Smith, but I'm sure I probably could, who is our volunteer director.
Go ahead and spell it, Beth. We don't know how to spell it.
SMI capital TH.
Okay, I got it.
All right, I got a couple save the dates. This is the first one I'd like you to say, August the 1st. That is a First Friday event for the Lions Club out of Geronimo. We are going to be their nonprofit benefactors that night. So we are looking for people to not only create some wonderful desserts for us by the 1st, but we also want to encourage you to come and eat at the Red Barn that night. They have great food. They're also going to be giving us at least $500, which is pretty cool. All right, next week our school tours at the Big Red Barn start. That goes for 3 weeks. May the 9th will be the last day for that particular event. We've got lots of membership who have volunteered to do the garden part of the tours. We've got a lot of interns as well. Earth Day plant sales coming up. Not this weekend, but the next. We also, I'm sorry. Oh, you weren't talking to me. I'm sorry. We need volunteers to schedule on the Sign Up Genius. As of right now, we have no one signed up for the slot from 2 to 4. So we need to get that filled. The 26th, yes. Thank you. That day, we are also going to be doing a Ask a Master Gardener table at HEB from 10 to 2. I plan on having some coupons available for people who come and visit the table so they can come to the plant sale and save a little bit of money on a plant. All right. They're giving us $50 for our efforts of going in and doing a Master Gardener table for 4 hours. We need 3 people for this activity. 4 would be better. I'll send a sign-up genius out, and hopefully we'll have people fighting for those positions. If you've never done an Ask a Master Gardener table, it is a blast. You get to talk to all kinds of people. They have all kinds of questions. Sometimes you know the answer, sometimes you don't. You both sit there and look at your phone.
Which HEB is that?
The Seguin.
It is the Seguin?
Yes.
Okay. Is that on Earth Day?
That is on the same day as our plant sale, the 26th.
Beth, we're having one this Saturday in
In
Charlotte.
shirts.
That's where I got confused. So we have
Awesome.
2. Okay.
It's all set.
Oh, you already got.
Thanks, Ann. It's manned.
It's manned.
There would be 4 of us that are going to be at the HEB in Charlotte
And man.
between 10 and 1, answering questions, giving out pamphlets, and talking gardening. And if anybody lives in the Schertz area that would like to come by, it's probably your store anyway.
On the 19th.
Yeah, that's day after tomorrow.
3009,
Okay.
35.
Day after tomorrow.
Yeah.
Come,
HEB Supercenter.
come hang out with us, or come say hi at your groceries.
It's a nice HEB.
It's a beautiful.
It is really a beautiful HEB.
So, just letting y'all know.
Yes, ma'am.
And I have a request also. We're also doing at the HEB in Laconia on Earth Day, which is Tuesday. So
Actual Earth Day.
Right after one.
Okay, but ours is going to be later in the day. It's going to be like from 4 to 6 or 4 to 7. I'll get you the exact time. If anybody wants to come or is in the Laconia area and would like to come and help, come on by. We're going to do Ask the Master Gardener. We're also going to have some things to do for the kids.
Oh, that's fantastic.
They wanted to do it earlier in the day, and I said, they're all at school. So we're going to put it at more, like 4 to 6, or 4 to 7, so that when they get out of school, they can run by, and we'll have some arts and crafts for them to do, and then be able to answer questions.
Awesome. Thank you.
Call me if you're interested in helping in the Lavernia HEB on Tuesday after Easter.
That's a
Okay?
lot of HEB.
Yes, ma'am.
They love us.
What date was that again? I'm sorry.
Which day?
For the thing will burn.
Lavernia is next Tuesday, the Tuesday after Easter, so it's what, 21st?
22nd.
22nd.
Okay.
Karen, go help us.
Craft days will return in August. We really did well with crafts. We'd like to pick up some more people to have fun with us. We always go upstairs and just play around with stuff and make cute stuff.
Is it for sale?
The things that are so cool about what we did was every single pot we took to a plant sale sold.
Wow.
And at the Poly Mansion, six of the tic-tac-toe boards we showed you last meeting were sold.
Are
So
there any left?
I think you're going to have to talk to the main gal over there to find out where to get any of those left.
Are there any left?
Some, but I'm gonna have some more by the time we do Earth Day, or I'll take a second question if you want something too.
Very awesome. The second date I want you to put on your calendar is December the 11th.
Yeah.
That is our Christmas social. And it will be at the Big Red Barn this year. Yeah, it's going to be beautifully decorated for us. All right, that's all I got. Any questions?
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
Will y'all be at the fair?
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. We'll be there with bells on.
County fair?
Yes.
Wouldn't miss it.
All right. Thank you, guys.
For those of you who've never done the school tours, it's usually a pretty easy day, and the kids are a hoot. And you get a free lunch besides that. So, something I forgot to mention at the beginning, but if you would all please do what I just did and silence your phones, I'd appreciate it. Okay, up next is our education director, and this also is a last name that starts with an S. Brenda Smith.
Another Smith.
Brenda, just spell it for us, we're not.
Yes.
Sarah Smiley.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get you.
There we go. All right. So as always, I sent everyone a copy of the education report. I changed it a little bit since our hours have increased, so I now have a line for those who have reached the 10 hours or more. So those are the ones we have 11% that have already met the requirement, so it's great. Hopefully we're going to see that continue to go higher. We now have 56 members that have 0 hours. And last month it was like 65, so that's good. But other than that, we still have the shadow program. If anyone would like to be a speaker, for any interns that are interested in being a speaker, once you graduate, you can get with me and I can get you signed up with the speaker. And because we need more speakers to go to different places with more topics. So I'm looking for people that have something else that they love to talk about as far as gardening goes, to get out to the public and share your knowledge and your information. And so next month, we have our very own Beth Smith, our volunteer director, who will be doing a lunch and learn at the Seguin Library on hydroponics. And then in the Schertz Library, we have Lizzie Brown, although I found out this past Saturday that she does not show up in person. It is a virtual session, so I had to learn that the hard way, but we got it done. So, still have these classes. If you wanted to use that URL to go out and watch videos so that you can log your continuing education hours, that way you don't even have to get out of your house.
And they give door prizes.
Yeah,
They get prizes.
don't have to fight traffic, none of that stuff. So, and then also, I know that I have talked to y'all a little bit about it before, but I am the point of contact for the 2026 Guadalupe County Master Gardener Calendar. I've been busy working on that, while also being the education director. And they wanted me to talk a little bit about it tonight while I was up here. So this is, I picked out a few slides to show you some of the information that it's going to have in there. Of course, you know, there's going to be a top that's going to be all informational, and then I'll have the actual calendar.
It's a wall calendar.
Yeah, it's a wall calendar. So it'll be 11 by 17 when it's opened up, and of course 8.5 by 11 when it's closed.
Plenty of places on it to write your volunteer things you commit to.
Yes. So this is, the page that's up in there is just one of the informational pages before we get to the actual months. And here is the page I got. This is some information that was done by some of our interns. Pat Adams had worked with them, and they got to earn some hours by doing a write-up on different vegetables. And I took those write-ups and I incorporated them into the months in which they should be planted or they, you know, grow. And this is April, so chili peppers and eggplants are good to plant in April. So, and every month has 2 plants, 2 vegetables to go along with the month. And this is the month of April. Whoops, one too far. I don't know why that says that up there. It should say April. I don't know what that I don't know what happened to the font, but it's not that font. But anyway, I went through and I put all the holidays and anything that we recognize, and I got the moons in there. So, and then, you know, you can keep notes on the actual calendar part. And then
And
this,
these will be for sale.
yes.
We're getting them together, we're gonna print them, we're gonna offer them to you guys. You probably weren't gonna
Great
say that.
Christmas
Yeah, well,
gifts.
Oh, good.
yeah. Yes.
Are these calendars, they're gonna have the, okay, like the slide before that showed the peppers and the eggplant. Is that information, those pictures gonna be above all this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be on, so when you open up April,
Yeah.
that information will be on top, and then this page will be on the bottom.
Sharp.
So,
We have another question.
yes,
We have
Kathleen.
an idea of how much we're selling them for. Do you have an idea?
I'm thinking I'm going to be asking for $10 a piece,
$90.
so.
Can always go
And
down.
you can give them to your friends and neighbors and family.
And right now-
Christmas.
Y'all don't understand, Keith was saying he was gonna spend $90 for one.
I think he's gonna get 9 of them and give them away.
I actually thought maybe he was gonna pay $90 for one because it was so unique.
Yeah, special.
This is gonna be in the middle of the calendar, the recommended vegetables for our county. Whether they're summer vegetables, spring vegetables, winter vegetables, how many days to harvest. That's the second page. Did it change? It's probably good. There we go. That's the second page
Good, great.
of it. So, and then this is more towards the end. So,
Excellent.
talks about the frost tolerance, basically when you should transplant them, when you should start your seeds outdoors, all that kind of stuff. And if any of y'all remember getting an email from me asking about pictures, this is why. Because all of these pictures in here, I'm gonna have to go back and give credit to somebody, and I would rather give credit to y'all. So any pictures that you have of a specific vegetable, whether it's just the leaves, as it's growing, as it's a little plant, you know, once it's mature, once you pick it, even if it's bad, you know, because it's like, bad things happen, you know? And it's like, so there's nothing wrong with showing, you know, the bad side if you don't really take care of a vegetable plant. And then this is the back cover. And even those two pictures, I would like, you know, some of our own pictures. But I just went out on the internet and grabbed some pictures. So,
Oh, that looks like Ernestine.
I'm planning on, or we're planning on ordering 500 calendars since this is our first go around at this. And I'm hoping it takes off so well that by 2027, we're ordering 1,000 or more. So I would hope that all of y'all would be willing to put forth $10 to buy this beautiful calendar. They will make great gifts. I'm hoping that they're ready in time for the fair this year so that we can sell them at the fair. I think that's about the time that next year's calendars come out, is October, November timeframe. So,
I think
but
we
I just
have
wanted to give y'all.
we have a pre-order, don't we already? So was it for 100? Yeah. So 100 are gonna be gone, so get your order in early.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Pre-order, taking pre-orders.
So, but I just wanted to share what, one of the other things I've been working on and what y'all can have forward to look forward to. So tell your friends and family to be out on the lookout for it, or you know, you can just buy one for them. So, all right, any questions? All right, thank y'all very much.
All right, before we move on to the next report, we have one more volunteer opportunity for you.
Possibly.
April would like to talk about the 4th of July float.
So many of you have heard about the 4th of July float that we've done the last few years. Keith kicked it off, and then I think
We
Beth
won,
headed
first
up
place.
one, and Pam Malone headed up one. Class 40 has taken on the project this year. Wow. Thank you, Class 40. So they are just at the very beginning stages. Beth is going to help head it up to get them pointed in the right direction, but I wanted to give them credit, and if anybody would like to hop in there and help them out, please let Beth know, and she can get you headed in the right direction to help the students out. But I thought it was a great thing for them to take that on. So we will have a float again this year. Plan on the 4th of July downtown Seguin to see our floats.
The biggest little town 4th of July parade.
It's a good parade.
Anyway, thank you to Class 40 for agreeing to do that. We were afraid we weren't going to have one this year. This is a big deal.
I didn't hear him.
All right, next up is our membership director, Bjorn Johnson.
I'm giving her money.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. Well, actually, it's morning. I just woke up. So, doing pretty well. First and foremost, and no one ever asked this, how's everyone's gardens doing? You guys pulling stuff out? Radishes should have come out. Should have got some lettuce. Kohlrabies are probably ready to come out. All right. Good. Good. Grow more food.
He's not proud of it or anything.
Just some data. We're doing good on our hours. I compared hours from this year to the last couple of years, and we're way to go. One of the things I'm gonna start looking at is getting you to your 20 hours. Remember, you need 20 volunteer hours, 10 CE hours. So probably around August, if you're still at the goose egg, you'll probably get a little nudge email from me to keep that up. Otherwise, people are going pretty well. There's Clicker. Got some 100-hour guys. 200-hour Tim. I didn't see Tim. Yeah. And then April. She's up in the 300s.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's a plant sale, that's what.
You should probably open a shop or something,
Yeah.
like a sewing shop.
A store.
And, yeah, and oh, that's it. So one of the things that I've been working on, I finally got access to all y'all's background checks. And I sat through and went through all of them. And there is a spot in VMS where they can get put in, because you guys can't get into the EVS program. So I went and I put in, it says last background check, and it's in your profile information. And instead of putting in the date that they wanted, I put in the date that it expires, because that made more sense. So if you're questioning, where your background check is sitting, it's now in there. If you go into your information, it'll say background check, and it should tell you that date in there is when it's going to expire, like the 27 or whatever. Mine's June 11th, 2027. On the flip side of that, since I just got into it, if you got an email from me, that means you need to do the background check. Yours either, so somewhere between March and August is going to expire. So obviously if it was March, it's already over. Some people out to about August 20th was a big group. So if you got that email from me, you need to bite the bullet and go through that background check. Luckily it's only once every 3 years. You should see, I know one gentleman did it, I don't know if here. You'll get a certificate back from doing the course, and then then you go through the Panda Sterling side, and when they're done, you'll get an email back from them that says, yay, you're now a Sterling volunteer. They get that over there at the ag office, and then it updates in my system, so you don't have to, if you want to send it to me, I'll congratulate you, but you don't have to send that if you don't want to kind of cut down your outbox and your inbox and your email.
And if you need help, what?
Talk to April.
That's how I get my 300 hours.
Yeah, it's not too, I'll be honest, I've only done it once, so I'm not the expert. I can thumb you through it, but we'll be henning and pecking. But we'll get.
Frank has gone through it about 20 times.
Oh.
He knows how to do it. So
Yeah, if you're having a problem between the three of us, we will get you.
We'll get you there.
We'll get you there. If you haven't done the new version yet, which a lot of people who are going to expire this year haven't done it.
No, mine's next year.
Yeah, it is. It's about 3-hour video courses, modules. I know.
You can do it faster than 3 hours.
You can. I've done it faster than 3 hours. My one complaint is it does ask you to click stuff, so you can't.
you have to.
That's how I do my work trainings. You turn the video on and they go do something else, and then it stops. Right? Well, they seem to have caught that. And so there are clickers. But yep.
If you test it as soon as theoretically possible,
Yeah.
you get 145.
Yeah, it's got the bar. It won't let you click until it estimates how long it takes a person to read or whatever, and then it won't let you click the thing until. Just grin and bear it once every 3 years. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but there's maybe a third of you that are going to have to do it this year. Also, the membership card, like I said, they're down here now. If they're also up on a normal day, they'll be up in the office. So if someone you know needs it, they're up there in the office, that's all. Okay. And then, you guys.
One more thing? No? You got it? All right. Now, many of us have been working at the various plant sales that have been going on. Actually, this last Saturday was kind of nice. There was no plant sale. But first off, I want to thank Pam Malone, Paul Carter, and Tim Steele for all of their hard work. As all of you know, Pam was in charge of the Grow team, and Paul and Tim were in charge, or still are, in charge of the plant sales for the rest of this year. And there is no resigning in the middle of the year. Just warning you. And we'd like Paul and Pam or whoever would like to come up and give us a brief report on how they think it's going.
No Paul.
No call. Just relax, take a deep breath, cleanse your aura.
Okay, I don't know how to tell you this, but we're not doing too good right now.
Oh, no.
We're doing great.
You scared me for a second.
Now, before we get into it, I want to say that we're doing great because of the plant sales team and the grow team. Everybody is working together as a team, and it's all about teamwork that's made us successful. How many of you here have been involved with the plant sales? Would you please stand up? Come on, stand up. Thank you all very much for all you've done. This is just part of it. But they have done an exceptional job. Now, before we get into other things, I want Pam Malone to tell us about the Grow team. She's done an exceptional job with the Grow team.
I've been so proud of you all for all your help and hard work for growing the plants and getting them to us or whatever we need to get done. For right now, for the Earth Day, kind of phase out of all of the vegetables a little bit because it's going to get too hot to grow vegetables at this point. So if you have plants at home in your flower beds and you want to kind of thin things out, now's the time to do it. You can, divide them up. Just, most of them are really easy to do, but just if you want to thin out your flower beds, now's a great time to do that portion, and we'll do that for the plant, for Earth Day. Thank you all for the members who come and work the plant sales, and just for everything that you've done. I greatly appreciate it. Couldn't have done it without you.
It's a party!
Notes on our little Grow Team chat thing, that helps tremendously if you've got questions or what's going on. If you want to be part of the Grow Team or just see what we're doing, let me know and I'll add you on there too. You have to friend me on Facebook before I can do it, so but the messenger will flag everybody who wants to go on the Grow Team's portion of it. Okay? All right.
All right, before I get into the other numbers, I want to address I want April and Frank, come up here a minute, please.
Do it.
You're in trouble now.
I do.
No, you've done great. Because you're not even sitting together.
These two individuals have put in, listen up, these two individuals have put in more time and effort than anybody I've ever seen. They take care of the plant sales online. They not only take care of the plant sales online, they're fixing to open up a nursery at their shop. They got plants all over the place there, but they're selling. Frank takes care of the online, he takes the monies. right?
Yeah. They give it the clear.
They display the plants out front, they have signage out there, they take calls on plants, they sell the plants, they report it to the treasurer. They've done an outstanding job. We need to give them, oh, wait, before you give them a hand. Take a wild guess how much they've done in sales since the end of February.
Online,
Just
Online, just online.
2,000.
5,000.
It's on the treasurer report.
Online, 5,165. Thank you, guys. They've done an awesome job. We
Okay,
couldn't do it
we
without them.
can't take all the credit though. Again, Class 40 has really stepped up. A lot of the students have been there watering and pruning and inventorying and taking care of the plants. So we can't take all the credit. Class 40 really stepped up. So give them a hand too.
All right,
Can we sit down now?
you can sit down now. Out of 6 plant sales venues, not including, including theirs. Out of the 6 venues, we've done $8,663. That's a gross amount. Total for the whole plant sales, gross amount, we have done $13,828. That exceeded 2 years ago. That's probably doubled 2 years ago. Now, the estimated net out of that, as far as the earnings, I had to estimate that, which will give us a net of $12,000. So it's been an awesome year. And that's only 6 classes, 6 venues. Now, we still have Earth Day coming up on the 26th of April. So that's going to be good because it's right downtown square. And then we're not going to have any plant sales until the fall, which we're going to start planting probably mid-August, somewhere around in there, to make ready, because our first sale is going to be on December at the county fair.
October,
I'm sorry, October. I was thinking of
it's the second weekend, right? October, the second weekend of October.
October the 9th through the 12th is what I have here.
Yes, that's it.
And then we'll have the Pecan Fest in Seguin on October the 25th. And then we'll have the Yule Fest on December the 7th. And then we'll have Kingsbury Fest in November. And I want to say that's around November 5, somewhere in that area.
First weekend or something.
First weekend of November. So we have enough time to double what we've already earned. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to everybody still working together as a team. And if we work together as a team, we'll achieve that. But I'm not going to tell you what until then. So anyway, that's where we stand.
Thank you. All right, we have one more business, actually, we have one more business thing, and then we have a report from a Class 40 member. The business thing is, we made some changes to the bylaws. Everybody should have had a chance to review them. They've been posted on VMS. There were copies on the table back there. To clarify some things and also to make sure that we were in line with Texas state laws for nonprofits. So before I ask for a motion to approve those, are there any questions? May I have a motion to approve?
I have a question. On section 5, which is about eliminating the closed session, didn't Travis Frankie suggest that stay in there?
Well, the provision of state laws provides for closed sessions. So we state in the bylaws that we will follow state laws for nonprofit, and it provides for executive sessions.
But the wording is all members can go to all meetings. So how does that's pretty black and white.
It says in a different place in there that we will follow Texas state laws, which does provide for executive sessions under certain circumstances.
I think there's two. David, you know a little bit better. There's two circumstances for closed meetings.
I mean, state law is always going to prevail over anything that we've got written
In
down.
writing that everything's open, so unless somebody knows what the state laws are, then you don't know. I mean, they'll assume that you can't have a closed meeting. It's just odd.
It's okay.
Thank you, it's okay.
No, it is okay, because state law prevails. So it predominates whatever's in the bylaws.
Right.
Period, end of story.
Let's go with the majority vote.
Yeah, our goal was to make sure that we were following state law.
Good.
Okay, that was,
All you need to do.
they have some very clear rules with regard to what nonprofits can and cannot do. And we want to make sure that what we're doing is in line with that, and that was always the intention of the changes. The other major change was we did pull in as far as positions on the board are concerned, we have Ingrid Wilgen, sinuses, who is our communications director, was also handling publicity. Well, it's a lot for one person. So we pulled publicity out and made it a separate responsibility. And Janice Jadwin has agreed it is a board-appointed position. It's not an elected position. That's why we're not asking you to vote on Janice tonight. Janice Jadwin has agreed to serve as publicity director. She's not here tonight, or most of you know her. She's been publicity director in the past, so it's something she's very familiar with doing. Now then, I'm going to ask, do any of you feel seriously enough about the point that Claire raised that we need to make some revisions and come back next month and vote on this again? Change the wording in that section that she pointed out, because she's right, it is. We can do that, but the intent was always that we follow state law. Yes?
To Claire's point, is there another place we can make that information known so that members don't get confused? I see her point. You can always come to a meeting and then say, no, you can't because it's closed. Is there another place we can get that information out without changing the bylaws? Because again, we don't want someone to come to a meeting that they can't come to. And they'll look at the bylaws and say, oh, I
If you have a closed session, you don't have to announce it to them.
Yeah.
And as I said, there are very restricted conditions under which you can have an executive. But that is not generally announced, and so it generally will not be but if, should it be at a regular board meeting member, we will just make an announcement.
And that's exactly right. Don, the way that the state explains it is that when you're having a closed session, it can start out as an open meeting. And then there's an issue, there's only so many issues that can be allowed for closing the session.
Exactly.
And so then, well, there were several. Not very many that we would need to use, but
We're not.
all nonprofits.
Probably would be doing it. I understand we don't like to confuse our members.
Okay, so then, the president says, we have an issue, we're going to close the session to all open members for a period of time, asking guests to leave. And then, when that part is over, after that little business is done, you bring in back all of your members. So that's how it's written in the state law.
Rodney?
Claire's correct. If you say all meetings are open, but some meetings aren't open because we're abiding by state laws, why don't we just go on and eliminate that all
We could do that,
That makes sense to me.
What are we eliminating?
and we could just change the wording to something about all meetings will be open except under those conditions provided by state law.
There you
Which was the intent
Yeah.
of the, and just we'll bring it, we will do that, and we will bring it back to the membership next month for a vote at that
Makes a whole lot more
time.
sense.
It's a simple wording change, we can handle it.
It doesn't say all meetings, it just, the only word all is to all members. It just says
The only word all is all members.
Well, the intent was, we'll just clarify, it's not a big deal.
Can you read that section? Read it, go ahead and read it. Would you?
Right there.
all, it doesn't say all meetings, it says
Meetings will be open.
are of the corporation are open to all members. It doesn't say all meetings. But if they want to clarify, they would like.
We'll
Kay said-
clarify that one phrase. It's not that big a deal. We'd like to move forward on it. We have people working on, just a second. We have people working on updating the policies and procedures manual to reflect, for example, the split out of the publicity directors and that sort of stuff, so that policies and procedures follow along with what the bylaws say. But we'll make the assumption that that will stay in place. Yes, David?
We cannot think that. We are not government employees, but we are a government agency, and under that government agency, open meetings require public can come to the meetings, members come to the meetings. Executive sessions can only happen under two circumstances for this, and I don't remember the specifics, but they don't fall into our.
We will clarify the wording. Okay.
Because it's not tolerable. A strict interpretation like that.
We will change
Restore back to Travis Frankie. Restore back to Travis Frankie, and that is a state employee right there.
And he said that we did by saying.
Guys, we will clarify,
I gave you.
we will clarify the wording in that one section and bring it back to the membership next month because we're about to eat into Jerry's presentation time.
We already are.
I just want to know how come this weren't brought up before the meeting? You guys have 2 months to look at everything, and now you're bringing these problems up. Why didn't you bring them up before?
Next month. All right.
All right. Well, we will postpone this until next month then, and just change the wording in that phrase to, so that it doesn't appear to be contradictory to the intent. Now, I do have, before Ruthie makes her short presentation, I do have one more thing that I want to do. If you all will remember, a couple of months ago, we voted to make Liz Romero a member emeritus. And at this point in time, I have 2 things to present to Liz. One is her certificate of emeritus status, and the other is emeritus recognition certificate for her to hang on the wall. So Liz, you want to come up here please for just a second? All right. If 2 things were ever well earned, you earned them. So thank you. Okay, we got one more thing. Did you want to say something to the members?
Speech.
35 years. I was 12 when I joined.
35 years, yeah. She was 12. I like it.
Zoom in. Thank you.
All right. Okay, now we have a presentation by a member of the Class 40. Ruthie?
You're fast.
You're up.
That's some heavy stuff to follow, I tell you what. I'm Ruthie Kniper. Our Class 40 facilitators do an amazing job of providing us with what we need to grow as students and with stewards of the planet. And I'm not really sure what I like most about our class. Some of us really like the handouts. They're great to be able to take notes, old time, do the highlights, and just be able to sort of handle the paper like many of us like to do. Some of us really enjoy the speakers. Many of us really appreciate the web page that we all like to, so that we can go back and have the online handout. So it's hard to really know what we really appreciate the most. But the speakers are very patient with their constant interruptions. All of us have many, many, many questions for them. But it's really hard to decide what is absolutely the favorite. But our class facilitators just provide so much for us. But here's the recap for our last 4 classes. March the 25th was swapped out with March the 18th. So we had a subject matter swap, and we got to cover plant propagation. The lecture for this class was really informative, and the handouts were outstanding. They gave us all kinds of ideas and tricks for quality, low-cost plant propagation. The lecture included sexual propagation, mostly covering the parts of the seed and how the plants were developed and dispersed, and how to disperse their seeds, and asexual propagation through a variety of means, including simple layering, air layering, simple division, bulb chipping, cuttings, grafting, budding, and tissue culture. The class then did have an opportunity for our first class field trip. We walked the 2 short blocks down to St. Andrew's Garden and actually propagated plants that were donated by many of you guys, the Master Gardener members. We got to actually practice asexual and sexual propagation. We got to put our hands in the dirt and really have a good time. That was probably one of the best field trips we got to have. We had such a great time. April the 1st class was an outstanding presentation by Diana Buenavides from the San Antonio Bexar County chapter of Master Gardeners. Diana presented to us on Texas Superstars, the Texas Tough Plants using Earth-Kind principles, and Kathy Carroll presented to us on Texas Natives and Texas Adapted Plants, especially highlighting those that really attract the pollinators in our area. We love that one. On April the 8th, we had a fantastic guest speaker, Mark Fanek. Oh my gosh, he couldn't get out of here. Mark Fanek with Fanek Nursery and Garden Center. Mark talked to us about fruit trees that are not only best suited for Texas, but best suited for our Central Texas climate. Mark also talked to us at length about how to plan for, plant, and how to care for these trees. He talked a lot about how his grandfather said, when people would come to the nursery and they would want to buy a fruit tree, he would ask them if they already had the hole dug, and if they didn't already have the hole dug at home, he would send them back to dig the hole, and he wouldn't sell them the tree until they had the hole dug. And he'd say, come back to me when you have the hole dug. And I remember those days. It was a great lesson, and provided us with a list of the varieties of fruit trees that are best suited for our specific area. Mark also covered a great many of the ornamental trees that are best suited for our area. He talked to us about nut trees, especially pecan trees. He spent a great deal of time talking about the really different types of ornamental trees and how to cut them back. He gave us some great information about getting them ready for the frost. Some of the hardest things about it, they were like 6, 8, 12 feet tall, how you could really cut them back. That the best thing to do was sacrifice the height so that you could cover them and keep them safe for the winter, so that you could protect the plant and protect the roots. And he said it's hard to do, but that's the way that you keep them safe and have them grow back the next year. It's hard to pick a favorite class from all the classes that we've had, but I really think the April 15th class comes pretty close to the one that I really enjoyed the most. We had 3 great speakers from an organization in Comal County called Rain Bees. Mr. Richard Bonder Imsey, Dr. Stephen Granger, and Dr. Larry Sun. Mr. Bonder, MC, is with the Comal chapter of Master Gardeners, and he gave a great presentation on drip irrigation. His demonstration was very clear, and he was extremely helpful and very patient in answering all of our questions. We interrupted him probably every 2 seconds. Dr. Granger and Dr. Sun demonstrated water harvesting and how incredibly important it was to conserve and reclaim as much water as possible. They built a rain barrel, a large wick barrel, and a 5-gallon wick barrel, and raffled them off at the end of class to 3 lucky winners in our class. So that's the end of my 4-week report. We've just 3 more classes ready to go, and then we're done.
Very nice report, Ruthie, thank you. Now, you realize that when you're done, all of you from class 40, you know, a few more classes, and then you become a master gardener, and when we confer that title on you, you know everything about gardening, right? Definitely. I've always regarded being a master gardener kind of like practicing medicine. Yeah. You're always in a work in progress. It's always a work in progress. Okay. Next up, oh my. Are we going to give Pam time? I don't know whether we should give Pam time or not.
No, we're not gonna give Pam time, okay? Pam doesn't need time. Because I put my report out there on the table out there. And so if you need to look and see who's coming up, just grab one of these on your way out. You know, we got some great speakers coming up, including Mark Fanek, who we just got a great report about Mark Fanek. He's coming next month. So we got folks coming up. The social, of course, is the month right after that. And where do I push the button to keep going?
Next.
The arrow.
Next.
How does that look?
Kind of fuzzy.
Yeah, there it is. See, you can't read it. It's too much information. That's why I put the things, paper out there you can take home. Oh, I don't know what I just did. Okay, I think I just messed it up. Okay. Let's see. Can we just not take a break tonight? Sometimes we do. Can we?
It's been a few years since I've been here, and it's really fun to come out and see some friends I haven't seen in a long time.
Good intentions and all that.
And when I left, I think Kay was president, and then I come back and Kay's president again. But this has been a fun place for me, and I learned a whole lot coming through the course. And it's nice hearing the report because those are some of the same memories that I had when I came through at class 29, which is just like last year or so. When I started, the interns had to serve on the radio station because we still had KWED Lawn and Garden show. And so that was something that we did there. And when I came to be a master gardener, I really wanted to come to the course for a long time, but because I worked during the day, it was hard for me to get in a day class. And so they offered a class at nights, and that's when I got my opportunity to come. And it was kind of funny because they scheduled me to go be an intern at the radio station on the same day that I was actually the guest host of the radio station too. So the others in my class kind of said, what's going on here? But that was a fun time back with Bob Graff. So today I'm going to talk about cactus propagation for hybridization. And this is something that's kind of cool. This is a new presentation for me, so I talk kind of fast, but I'm going to watch time a little bit. You'll see this is me probably in about 1997, 96 or 97. And you'll see this isn't the first time that we met, obviously. We met before this picture because we had already built a relationship there. This was at a rest stop somewhere passing through Arizona on my way to California. But actually, my history with cactus goes way far back. As a Boy Scout, we did a lot of hiking, and we hiked somewhere out in California that was like a 20-miler that took us about a week or so. And there was a special cactus out there that was called the jumping cholla. And I didn't bring the pictures that I used to have in my old presentation, but the thing about a jumping cholla, it's got these spines, and all you have to do is just brush by it, and it grabs a hold of you. And another one that they have similar is called the teddy bear cholla, and it's not what you think, you know. But you walk by and it sticks its spines into you, and they curl. And so you can't just pull them out because you go with this hand to pull it out, and then it's stuck to this hand too. So when we were hiking, we'd be stretched out probably, 2 miles or so, the whole entire group. You better be the one with the pliers, or you gotta catch up or wait for the guy with the pliers to pull those out. And so that was really my first experience with cactus. I didn't really think much about it, but as I grew older, I really came to see the beauty in the spines and the colors and everything that those plants do. One fun fact is Texas has more species of cactus than any other state in the United States, including Arizona, which Arizona, they've got the big iconic saguaros and things like that, so that's why it really stands out. But Texas really has more species than anywhere else. What we're going to be talking today a little bit is about the propagation aspect of it. Some of the stuff you might be familiar with, especially if you're in class 40 and you just talked about propagation this month. Some of these techniques that we'll talk about are similar. It's a little bit different when we talk about cactus, because the cool thing about cactus is cactus store water. So when you're doing cuttings with trees and things like that, that's usually the biggest obstacle, is your plants drying out. We don't have to worry about that so much with cactus because they're filled with water. And in fact, when we do cuttings with cactus, you don't water at all. So we're going to get going, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about hybridization. So first we talked about what is propagation. And pretty much it's creating plants from other plants. And this says desirable traits. That's not always the case. Sometimes you propagate things that happen naturally in your yard, and those are called weeds. But propagation is something that I really, this is what I love to do. And it started way back, when I saw my dad pay $10,000 for a palm tree. And that really opened my eyes, because then I turned on the internet and I started Googling. Back then we didn't have internet, it was more like crack open a book. But I saw that the tree that he bought was a seed that took 2 years to germinate. You had to keep it warm for 2 years and moist without getting fungus. So after 2 years of nurturing this seed and it pops up, that's awesome. It just does something for you. And so that's really why I like doing this. Seeds is pretty much my passion, what I like to do. We're going to talk about a whole lot of other things. I've got some examples to show, but this is a really cool thing for me, and I'm glad to share it with you today. So there's the standard methods of propagation right here. And we talked about seeds just a little bit, and I'm going to go a lot further into seeds. We're going to talk about cuttings. We're going to talk about offsets, grafting, and tissue culture. Now first we're going to discuss seeds a little bit, and seeds have pros and cons. Some of the pros actually are cons, and some of the cons are actually pros, depending how we look at it. Now with seeds are readily available. I can go to H-E-B and find cactus seeds if I want to, because there's dragon fruit, you can find prickly pears there, you can find all kinds of cactus seeds at H-E-B.
I can come down the highway, right now all the flowers are blooming, that means that the prickly pears are coming within a month or so, we should have those. They're all over the place. And then there's my home collection, then there's the internet, then there's Green Gate Nursery, then there's everywhere. Seeds are everywhere. I go over to TLU. TLU has an awesome cactus beds, a few of them over there. It's not as good as it was before the big freeze, but they've got some great plants there, and I go raid their seeds all the time. Generally low cost. It doesn't cost me anything usually when I go over there. Some of the things I collect online do have a little bit of a charge to it, and some of them are hard to find if you're trying to find specific cactus for, you know, something that only grows in Big Bend or something like that. They're hard to find, but when you do, it still isn't that expensive. Large quantities are easy to produce. So that's the really cool thing, and one of the reasons why I started doing seeds was because I could increase my collection really quick and have a whole lot of things for not that much price. Genetic variants. So the cool thing about seeds is you don't really know what's going to happen until you plant them, and that's some of the fun of it. Is I plant things and then go out and check things, and all of a sudden, hey, that one doesn't look like that one. Something's different about it. So this picture right here, the bottom one here, that's a type of barrel cactus that I grew from seed. And I went out there one day and realized about 30% of my tray was variegated. And I had no way to know that when I collected the seeds, that somehow that parent plant had that gene on it that caused variegation. So that was a surprise. Was awesome.
Cool.
And as I talked about already a little bit, the satisfaction of nurturing these seeds and planting them and seeing things grow that you've really put the time into is absolutely incredible. Now, some of the cons from it is it does take a long time. So these seeds right here I have, I think these I put in here in September. And
96.
And they are really tiny. And this one right here, this one right here is one of the tallest cactuses in the world that is bigger than a saguaro. So this is actually really fast growing for most cactus because of what type it is.
Can I walk around with that?
You can. Well, let me just do the whole tray.
This is your last September?
Yeah, well, let me check the date on it. No, this was 12, 23, 24. So it does take a long time. Now another thing is seed viability. Sometimes I get seeds, even when I pay for them, that weren't necessarily fresh. I go to germinate them, and for whatever reason, nothing sprouts. They either stored them somewhere that was too cold, they put it somewhere that was too warm. For whatever reason, it just didn't work. Just means I gotta find another source for seeds or try something else. Now the genetic variants, a minute ago I talked about that as a pro because it was cool that I planted my seed and ended up with something variegated, but that could be a con too, because you don't know what you're gonna get. And it's somewhat similar to hybrid tomatoes. You know, if I took a tomato and I planted that seed, you might not end up with the same tomato that you started with because of all the genetics in there, because you've got recessive and dominant genes that might not have manifested in that generation. So that could be a con if I'm after a certain trait, because when I grow it, it doesn't end up the same. Now, young plants are vulnerable to changing condition. These things are babies, and I have to nurture them like children. And that was my first experience with seeds and cactus. Is I was great at starting them out, and then what? Because it takes years and years to get them to being more self-sufficient and to the leave it alone stage. It's a time commitment to do this. They are very vulnerable. This picture right here, the second one, that's almost a pro to it as well, because that is vulnerable. What happened with this one is I had it in my greenhouse last year and something ate the grow tip from it. So you see the top here, it's kind of eaten off. This right here is a native cactus, and it's the twisted rib cactus. And it's got a yellow flower on it. It is a solitary, it's like a miniature barrel cactus is what it is. So it's not meant to have suckers. It's not meant to have other things, pups or anything like that. It's a solitary cactus. But what happened is when that bug ate the grow tip, the cactus reacted, and guess what? Now I've got two shooting out the sides there. That's not normal at all. But it's something that the cactus used as a defense mechanism. Nature finds a way. The female dinosaurs do reproduce. But so that's really cool for me, because eventually when it grows up, I'll have two cactus on one head with flowers that are coming on both. So I thought that was really cool.
So you can go let those get a little bit bigger, good again, and do like a plumeria or something, just keep forking, right? Or you don't know.
Or you don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, so some of the problems with seeds, and when you have a certain, if I had a plant and I want to get seeds from it and I want to be able to germinate those, not every flower is going to produce seeds, because not every flower is self-fertile. So some of these require to be cross-pollinated, which we're going to talk about a little bit later when we start talking about putting things together that don't go together. This is important, knowing what's cross-pollinated from other types of plants. But self-fertile, here's a few species. Most people are familiar with Mammalarias. It's a smaller, well, this is a Mammallaria. And this is a really cool one because it's all furry and stuff. But these are small ones. Usually you can get it at H-E-B or Walmart or somewhere like that. This is a very common one. And I got my wife's going to go and show everybody.
Your charming assistant.
Barrel cactus on the bottom, that's the family of barrel cactus. So the AgriLife building here, before the freeze, used to have some big giant golden barrels out front. And that's the big barrel that you'll see in most people's yard. It generally is okay in the area until we get one of those crazy freezes. Echinopsis right above that. That's an awesome family that you'll see all the time at Home Depot with these big monster flowers on them. Easter lily cactus is in that family. The thing about that family, though, is they've taken a lot of other species, renamed them, and classified them in that family. They've used all those species to hybridize into each other because they all produce these cool flowers. But you'll see some pictures here in a minute of the things that are created when they.
Everybody thinks your babies are so cute.
when they do something. But anyway, cross-pollinated species, Astrophytum. And that's one we're going to really focus on here in a minute, Astrophytum. And the other one, Opuntia, which most people know what Opuntia is, right?
I don't speak Spanish.
Prickly pears. Okay, so for planting seeds, the big thing is always soil. So if I'm going to keep something moist for a long period of time, there's a couple things I'm going to think about. One is trying to get more non-organic matter in my mix than organic matter. Because if I'm going to keep it moist and I've got organic matter, what happens? Mold and fungus, right? So I'm talking about keeping these seeds, and I'm going to put this thing back on here. Because actually, anytime you expose it to air and stuff, you're adding other things in there too. These have been in here since then, and I've never watered them. And we'll talk about that too.
So if we're turning into a desert, they're perfect.
Yes.
So soil is really important for the mix, and so what I'll use is a mixture of mostly peat moss, sand, and even my peat moss, I'll throw it in the oven and kind of make sure that everything's nuked and that there's nothing's gonna surprise me, 2 months down the road when I add moisture to it. Sand, lava rock, pumice, things like that I'll add to the mix, and I'll get to a point where I'm almost 80% non-organic matter. So that's pretty much my mix. The next thing that's important is your container. And containers really, I'll tell you, there's 50 different ways to do this. Containers really aren't that big a deal. Any container will pretty much work. These ones actually, this was a food prep container from H-E-B, and it had the lid on it too, and I used the whole thing. And these seeds are from Thailand. And there's probably about 200 in there. So, you can use a regular 4-inch container. You can use something larger. I think these are food prep containers as well. These are food prep containers.
I have a question.
Yep.
About your Thailand seeds.
I'll talk a lot more about Thailand seeds in a bit.
Can they get out and get into the environment?
We'll talk about Thailand seeds in a bit. So containers really aren't important. The big thing is making sure that they are draining. Because the hardest thing to do with cactus is overwatering. So it's got to drain. Everything you do has got to be, the water's got to be able to flow out and the soil's got to be able to dry out. Most of my things that I'll do it in a larger container like this, like a larger tray. And when I water this, I'll water in the tray so it'll soak it up from the bottom. Because these seedlings are small and I don't want to disturb them. So putting that water in here kind of helps do that. So after you get your container, your stuff, you got to make sure that it's clean and sanitary and that you use like the 10% bleach to sanitize it if you're using older containers. Light is important too. Now a seed doesn't need light to germinate. A seed needs light as soon as it germinates.
That's true.
Yeah. And these seeds are very, very small. So generally when you're planting seeds, you want to have it double the depth of the size of the seed. And if your seed is microscopic, then it's pretty much just throwing them on top. Some people will take some fine sand and kind of dust on top of that. I don't do anything.
What kind of lights are you using?
So I'm using just LED lights, cheap ones, shop lights off of Amazon, and I think I paid like $20 for 2 sections, and they daisy chain together. And I've got a whole rack that I do. It's similar to if you've done the presentation on propagation, they talk about lights. I have my lights right over the cactus, and I don't have to raise them because they don't grow fast enough to do that. By the time they get big enough that I'd have to move the lights, they'll be outside. So, but you don't have to have special grow lights. I do not use a light that has, I like the LEDs because they don't put out heat too. Oh yeah. Heat's not such a big deal, but if you're trying not to water stuff, it dries it out faster and then it becomes more maintenance. So I don't mess with that either. So temperature-wise, temperature to do a seed, generally you want to be in the upper 70s. I don't like upper 70s in my house, so lower 70s is pretty much where I stay, and the seeds really haven't had any problem. If I'm worried about it, or if it's something that's a more tropical species, I may add a heat mat underneath that. Moisture and humidity. So as I said, I didn't ever water these. So what I did is I put pre-moistened soil in there that had moisture, and then I put a humidity dome over that. So it created humidity. So if you look at the top of this is all wet. That's the humidity that's created from the light, from everything that I got going on. And as long as that humidity is there, that's enough to sustain the life of the plant. So I don't have to water ever.
Jerry, how come one of those little trays with the 2 tiny babies were pretty wet, And the other one looks pretty dry.
Because I pulled it out of another tray and just put it in here.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Now, the second that, you know, it's like you learn a little bit about hardening off. So with like a tomato plant, if I'm going to move it from inside outside, I've got to kind of take it on walks every day and, you know, put it on the porch for a few hours, get it kind of acclimated, put it inside for another little bit, and, you know, for longer and longer. You do the same thing with these. So if I'm going to graduate from a humidity dome and do this, this has got these little spinner things that start letting the air in. I start letting air in. Well, first, with the moisture, you're going to end up with the gnats, first thing. So you want to keep these domes shut the whole entire time. And these might be in here for a year. Some of them, domes, if you're doing this at home, a 4-inch pot in a Ziploc bag does the same thing. You can create that dome any way you want. But as I do that, I just open these little things a little bit. As soon as I do that, the bugs are coming in, and the other thing that's coming in, or they're going out, is the moisture. So the second I do that, moisture is an issue, and I've got to start watering or checking for water. At this stage, well, then we're talking this. This is the next stage, and we can send these around. Send around, lady.
Oh, that was the April. I got fired.
Well, and she puts up with a lot, because we go to nurseries about everything all over the state. She smuggled plants back from Arizona.
TSA doesn't care, in case you're wondering.
Turn the camera off.
But that becomes maintenance right there. So I went from never watering to about once a week. I mean, I put a cup of water in there. And I can tell when it needs water because the soil would be completely dry. I'm going to let it dry out. And that's the secret to getting rid of the gnats, too. Let it dry out for a few days and see if they like it then. We went on vacation. We were in Kerrville last week, and I came home, and the one that the other one came out of was completely dry. I looked at the top, and the spinner was open, so it let the air in. It was covered with gnats, but they were stuck dead to the top of it because the soil dried out. They couldn't get out of the dome, and the plants were hard enough to make it, so it was okay. So I just closed the thing, water them, and they're fine.
So becomes fertilizer, true. Correct?
So fertilizer, I don't fertilize when they're babies at all.
No, but gnats, the gnats were the fertilizer.
Yeah. The gnats were fertilizer. A seed has all the nutrients that the baby plant needs, so you don't even really have to worry about that until it gets a lot older. So humidity depends on the species, and sowing the seed. We talked about the depth. Some seeds, I mean, you'll hear everybody talk about germinating cactus seeds in kind of the same time length and the same conditions. Not everything's the same. And all the rules that fit for some, there's always those exceptions. So you do have some complicated seed dormancies, things that need to soak in water a little bit longer, things that take a lot longer. Generally, most seeds will germinate in about 2 weeks. They'll be all up. Occasionally, you'll find something that takes 6 months. If we're talking palm trees, we're talking 2 years, depending on what it is. So you got to do a little research on the species that you're growing to. There's some that are just really hard, and then like, certain pre-sowing treatments. So just research some of those. Okay, post-care. So we talked a little bit about post-care. Those ones, I don't know if April, those have dates on the tag, on the back.
Yes, 8/24.
Okay. 8/24. And I think 3 of them are native Texas species.
Jerry, I have a question. When you decide to do this, do you take a patience pill?
Just wait.
Are you finished? No. I've only done half of them.
Okay, so cuttings is a little bit quicker than seeds. The important thing to know about cuttings is this little graphic up here, and that's a diagram of the spines. And you know, even though when we're talking about spineless cactus, that doesn't mean that there's not something there that's gonna stick there. Because they have these things called blockheads. So over at Greengate a couple of years ago, they were pretty much giving these cactus away for free. Can you believe that? If you research, it's Opuntia rufida is the name of it. But if you look up the common name, it's called Texas blind cactus. Because what happens is it's got these, it looks like a teddy bear there. It looks like you want to just rub your fingers on it. But no, because these blockheads right here are like fiberglass. So you're just like, and the wind hits them and they blow, and that's why they call it Texas blind cactus. So even though it looks like it's spineless, doesn't mean that it is.
Don't touch it.
But this is important right here, this aerial. Because anywhere a plant has an aerial and it comes in contact with the dirt, it has the potential to create roots there. So if you take your prickly pear and you cut off a piece and you just lay it on the ground, guess what's going to happen? It's going to grow because everywhere it's got those aerials touching the dirt, it happens. So taking cuttings from cactus is somewhat easy. So I've got this guy, and there's two types of cuttings. There's what's called a stem cutting, and then there's a base cutting, or a tip cutting. So this is the same cactus right here, or a brother of this one. This is the tip of it. And what happens is you can take this, cut it off, let the callus up for a few days, put it in the dirt, and there you go. About a month later, it'll start developing roots. And you do not water it at all at that point. You start watering it when I can tug on this, and you feel that it's starting to grab the dirt, then I'll start watering it and giving water to the roots. But up until then, I don't. What happens though with this, if I cut this off and plant this one, is this part of it starts growing babies. So at home what I have, and this only has, actually it's got two coming up on this.
Okay,
so,
I'm showing that. Don't fire me, don't fire me.
So what you do at home is if you have a large columnar cactus, this one would be something I would do, is I can chop this, put this tip in the dirt, have a new cactus coming up. This will produce 2 or 3 offsets. Now I'm in business. Or I can enjoy the one cactus.
What you got? Can you cut it in thirds?
You can cut it in thirds, and not only that, I can take this plant here, I can cut it in half, I can cut it in quarters, because I've got this little piece here that has those aerials. I can put it in the ground and it'll cut more. So I can really make about 100 out of this one. And that's important when we get talking here in a minute.
You don't have to use any kind of rooting hormone?
There's some people that use a rooting hormone. I never do. It doesn't matter. It just happens.
I'm originally from the Midwest. When I moved to Texas and I saw people mowing their fields for pastures, they would cut up the cactus.
Yeah.
And then 5 years later, there's nothing but cactus. And I think that's what you just explained.
Yeah. So it works the same way with these, the prickly pears. This is a special one though. If you look at the form of that, that's what one they call cow's tongue. And cow's tongue is a native Texas cactus that is native to Guadalupe County. They don't know where the original plants are. Nobody knows, but it's credited as being discovered in Guadalupe County.
We got them in Wilson County too. Just FYI.
Yeah.
It's spread that way.
Well, the Bass Pro Shop over there used to have a bunch of them out there, and I haven't been there in a while. Okay, so offsets is another way, and like that mammillaria, where'd that guy go? Okay, so the mammillaria has all those little mounded things around the base, and for that all I have to do is pull one off, let it callus up for a day, put that in the soil, and it grows too. So offsets are really cool. You'll see Easter cactuses a lot. People share those all the time. Easter lily cactus is one that they do a lot like that. This one on the top, that's called a gymnocalycium, and I got one here, and we'll talk about this one a little bit. This one fell over on the way here, so he's out of the roots. But you see this, he's got all these kind of babies all over him. So all I have to do with that is pull one of these off and stick it in the dirt.
You don't water it until it starts to.
And I don't water it until it's growing. Now, on the bottom corner is a golden beryl in the bottom corner picture. Now, beryl cactuses aren't one that normally you can separate and do offsets because it's a solitary thing. But this one is another one that something happened to the growth tip. And as a defense mechanism, look at all the babies around it. Question?
So the cactuses you just showed us, it looked like it was grafted.
We're going to talk about grafting.
Well, because that particular one, I thought that, because I've seen offsets on them, but I thought that when the offset fell off and needed to be grafted onto another cactus.
We'll talk about that in a minute. We're heading there.
We got Thailand and that, okay, I'm getting
Yeah. Grafting. Okay, so this is grafted onto dragon fruit. And you'll see this at Home Depot a lot. And these will be bright orange, bright yellow, something like that. And it's grafted on this dragon fruit. The reason why this is grafted on here is because on its own, it doesn't produce enough chlorophyll to grow its own roots. So they grafted on dragon fruit. Now this one's a different color. This isn't yellow or red or something like that. This is closer to natural. This one actually will produce roots, so I can split this one off and do this. And this one, if you look close, you can see purple coming up here.
Oh, yeah.
This one's going to flower here in the next week or two.
Wow.
And this will be covered with these bright pink flowers. Now the problem with these is when you buy this, it's like buying a century plant that's blooming. They call that the death bloom. Same thing with this, because dragon fruit has a limited lifespan. So from the time you buy this, this is already heading downhill. The only way to save this is to degraft it or graft it onto something else or to propagate some of these. So if you're buying the one from Home Depot, enjoy it while it lasts. It's not an annual, but it'll be gone in a year or two.
Get one with babies on it.
The bottom part's gonna die?
The bottom part's going to die.
So you take the top part off and put it on something?
Yeah, so these are grafted. This is something else, and we'll talk about what this is in a minute. This is grafted on something else. This is grafted on this type of cactus, which is hardier for this area. And if you get into grafting, they'll tell you which grafting stock works better per area. If you're in like California area where it's not as humid, there'd be a different species that you grafted on compared to here in Texas. This is Myrtleoak cactus is what this is. And it's got a pretty blue color. It's got yellow flowers, but they're not very big. But this is very hardy for grafts. It's very fast growing. It becomes a big, huge plant with lots of arms and branches. So this is one that's grafted onto that lasts a lot longer. I could take that and graft it onto a piece of this.
Jerry, do you have a lot of really big cactus at your house?
I've got some that I need my son to come move.
Wow. I bet.
So grafting is very cool, and the reasons why you graft cactus are similar to what you graft trees with, where you take maybe something that's got a beautiful flower, and I can take it and cut it and put it on hardy rootstock or do a cutting. I can take a cutting of this, well, this one right here. This was really cool, just in the coloring of this. This is actually the same, this is the same cactus. This is a little bit more variegated. They're calling this chimera, is what they're calling this color. And it's hard to get. I mean, if I had to do this, I could split this off and do a little piece of it, but I can also split this off, put it on something hardy root-wise. This is gonna speed up the growth. So this will get bigger like this in probably the next 2 months. It'll be this big. It just speeds everything up. Also, this picture right here, that's a saguaro. So a saguaro cactus, I mean, you can buy it like this, and in 10 years you might have it like this. A saguaro cactus grafted like this is probably less than a year old. And it just gets that big, that fast. So other things, this in the top corner here, that's also a species that only it's solitary. When they grafted it, something happens with that accelerated growth, and now guess what? It's a cluster. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I'll talk a little bit about grafting and the technique to it. There's lots of different ways to do it. There's micro grafting. This is like a small seedling on this big, huge base there. But what you'll do is, like, I can take one of these Gymnocalycium babies, I can cut where the root is, and you'll see like a marinol stem, and I can take this one and cut it, line those two up, and I'll put on my yellow powder, sulfur.
My yellow powder.
I'll put sulfur on it, line that up, and because the sulfur will keep anything that isn't connected from rotting. And then I'll put rubber bands. In this picture, they've used that handy wrap, the one that has the sticky stuff on it, to create that and create a vacuum seal for these two to go. And it'll take about 2 weeks or so, and then they'll be grafted together.
You put cellophane over it?
Cellophane works. Cellophane will work as long as it can pull it really tight. Rubber bands are still the go-to. The hard thing about the rubber bands, though, is balancing them right and creating enough pressure evenly to hold it on there. A lot of times it moves while you're trying to get it situated where you want it. And your cuts have to be clean. But grafting is something that you start working on, and it takes a little bit of expertise and practice till you get it right. Not everything works, but this is another way. And this is my friend Chris Day, and I told Miss Pam, you need to get a hold of Chris Day. Chris Day does tissue culture. He's got his book here on Amazon, Step-by-Step Tissue Culture, and he'll do a tissue culture workshop if people are interested. So this is a really cool guy. Tissue culture is completely different. So as we talked about growing seeds, I talked about the genetic variants in my seeds. I don't know what's going to come up. But if I go to Home Depot and I look at plants, every single plant looks identical. Well, how is that? Well, it's because they don't always use the genes in the plant. Tissue culture takes one plant and creates clones of the same plant. So out of one cell, you can create thousands and thousands of plants. So it's something in the cactus succulent business that's really just starting now. It's still in its infancy. But Chris Day is a member of our club in San Antonio, and he teaches great classes on it. So tissue culture is cool.
Got a question?
Sure.
If you do the tissue like that, what happens if you get something in that's gonna attack it?
If you get something,
wipe out a whole line of them at one time?
yeah. So I mean, but it's a sterile environment. So they've got these boxes that you're putting your hands in, and everything's sanitary. There's a growth medium in there that's helping it, so it's not exposed to anything. I mean, you still have conditions like light and things like that, and heat, that could kill it, but in general, it's a sterile environment. So hybridization. What is hybridization? So pretty much plant hybridization is a process of crossbreeding two plants from different genetic traits to create offspring that resemble things that you want, different characteristics. Now there's multiple types of hybridization. There's hybridization where you take two different species, combine them, and come up with something new. So one thing that's out there right now is these things called mangaves. I don't know if you've ever seen one, but I was at Home Depot last week, and they had a whole table of them. Mangaves are a combination of agave and manfredas. And it's something, they've got some really cool colors. They've been able to produce things that are more cold hardy than other manfredas, and last longer than some of the agaves. So it's a really cool thing. And then there's what they call intragenetic hybridization, where there's things that from plant to plant that you have different, passing the street today, there's two prickly pears. One had a yellow flower right next to it. You had one that had an orange flower. So naturally, you do find things that happen that way. And a lot of times that's what starts the hybridization trends, is something naturally occurs in the wild that's different than the normal. And then it's the process of taking that and making something cool with it, or making it marketable, or taking strains of that, the labradoodle, that's what we're talking here. Or now it's the dire doodle. So some of the things that you'd want to do hybridization on would be flowers. There's a lot of cool flowers out there, and that's the highlight for me, is going out in my yard every day and seeing these great flowers. And some species I really like because they're not things that bloom once and they're done for the season. They're things that continue to bloom through the season. We're going to talk about one of them, but Astrophytum is a big one. This is Astrophytum myriostigma, and this is blooming every day right now. So this is a really cool color. This is a yellow. Generally they're yellow with a red center. But flowers is a big thing. Number of blooms, the frequency that it blooms, and then the colors, and the size of the blooms. And I'm talking a little bit faster because we're rolling on time.
You're doing well.
So coloration, foliage coloration, variegation. So this is a variegated San Pedro cactus, which is not easy to find. And it's very desirable. They're not very heavily on the market. We talked about this guy just a little bit, and his coloration. We talked about Gymnocalycium, which is another one. So we only see the Gymnocalyciums at the moon cactus, they call it, at the Home Depot. But if you go online, crazy colors. And they've got some really, really cool ones out there. And the prickly pear up there, that's Santa Rita cactus, which is known for being very purple. And they've got a bunch of those planted over at Caterpillar.
They're out west, around El Paso.
It's a native. So another thing would be the form. So I've got a couple different, this is what they call crested, which is very cool. The cool thing about crested too, if you get lucky, you'll find crested ones that will have crested flowers, which is, if you look at that bottom picture right there, isn't that cool? Yeah. So that's why you buy these. This one here is Twisted Cirrus. They call that one Twister, which has got really cool spiral. Generally, Cirrus just comes straight up. That's a really cool one. This one is the same as this. This is Merlot cactus, the one that I use for grafting. But this one has two different conditions going on. This has got some crusting as well as something that's called monstrose, which it just has a crazy form that just kind of goes. So, and this is a cool cactus anyway because it does take on fall coloring. So the reds and stuff that you're seeing are actually fall color. As it goes more into the summer and gets more sun, it changes colors more into a blue.
Name that again, please.
Merlot cactus.
Merlot?
Myrtillo.
Merlot.
So, and the one in the center here is very popular. That's called totem pole cactus, which is kind of a monstrous thing that happens. They're very common in Arizona. There's two different varieties. One's real slow growing and fat. One's fast growing and suckers.
So is that a fence behind it? How tall are those?
Monstrous. Can't reach the top. And then the one up top is crested, they call that a brain cactus. The part corner over here, that's a genetic disease called caloric. And right now, that's probably the most desirable thing out there. That's going for lots of money. They've got one cactus with that, and I think it was in like Arizona or something, and somebody had it in their yard and somebody recognized it and says, that's not normal. You mind if I get a cutting of that? And on YouTube, there's a story about how they've got that glorp. G-L-O-R-P. And I believe it's the same cactus.
Jerry, what caused it? What caused it?
It's just one of them freaks. Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about astrophytum. Now, astrophytum is all these seeds from Thailand. But this is Astrophytum asteria, which is this top picture up there. Astrophytum asteria, even though these seeds are from Thailand, Astrophyta asteria is native to Texas. It's from the valley. And they call it the sand dollar cactus, and it looks really similar to peyote, although it's not. It's the legal version. So, astrophytum, if we remember from a few slides before, is open pollinated. So you can cross pollinate, and he takes another flower to produce seeds. The thing, it doesn't happen in nature, but in cultivation in greenhouses, a lot of people collect those species and they crossbreed all the time. So you end up with things that are a little bit different. This one down here is called Meristigma. That one that I'm showing around that has the flower, that will become that when it gets bigger. This one is called Ornatum, which is very tall and is somewhat hardy enough to have in our gardens. This one that looks like a freak is called Caput Medusa. And I think you could see why that's called that way. But the cool thing about it is when they classify plants, they're not classifying them by the forms, they're classifying them because of flowers. Which is why this has got the identical flowers, but it doesn't look, the form looks completely different. So actually this one right here, we'll send these around. These are naturally occurring hybrids that happened in one of our gardens that was a ornatum that bred to a meristigma. So if you look at these and count the ribs on them, they're not all the same. Some of them have thorns, some of them don't. Because the ornatum has thorns, the meristigma doesn't really have thorns.
And the medusas are rare and they're very expensive when you come across them.
Yeah, and you'll find most of them are grafted.
And I have a question. All these in the pots, you just put them out in the backyard in the summertime?
It depends on what it is, and it depends on the age of it. As they get older, I have some that are 2 years old that are now, this year, in the shade, under shade structure. I have some that are still on the porch, covered all day.
So you're protecting them?
They're protecting them. And I mean,
Why don't you put them out in full sun like Texas?
I might not.
Oh.
I might not. I mean, it's work, and you still have to acclimate it so that it can get there if you want it there. For me, I'll just keep it covered and not worry about it. Last year's sun, was it last year or the year before? The sun was absolutely brutal. It didn't matter how sustained things were, it just kicked its butt. So I'm really cautious on a lot of what I'm doing. But okay, so that Astrophytum asteria, you saw had little dots on it. You look at the top picture there, that's one called nudum that is absolutely no dots. And this was a naturally occurring hybrid, but over the last 100 years in Japan, they've taken these genes and they bred them and bred them and bred them and came up with all kinds of different hybrids. So this is stuff that doesn't occur naturally at all, but you'll see down here, this one they call it Sakura, the ribs are different. They've got some that have even more dots on them. They bred it so now they've got bees in them. They bred it so they've got a lot more of the aerials on top. And this one down there they're calling Kiko. It's absolutely incredible. Now, generally, it takes 3 generations to prove out a gene. So if you have something that looks good, the gene becomes stable after 3 generations.
How old are those plants right there, Jerry?
We'll talk about that. So, these are some of the variations of flowers. We showed the flowers before and they're all yellow. These are some of the new ones out there. So, and this is just a small sampling of what's out there that's been bred for over 100 years. You don't see these in the United States though at all. None of this. And there's reasons behind that. So first of all, how old are these? It takes one of these seedlings, these little guys, from 3 to 5 years in order to bloom. So if I'm going to prove out 3 generations, and what happens if I have a recessive gene that doesn't show in the first generation, I have to breed that another generation to go there. You're talking how many years just to prove out one thing. And these are multiple genes stacked up on each other. That's 100 years of breeding there. So the time involved here is absolutely insane.
Patience will.
So how do we do it? Well, first of all, you've got to have your seed stock. What we're going to talk about is all the things that we talked about from the beginning for propagation. How do we do that? We use all of the methods of propagation in order to hybrid something. So first we start out with seed stock. You got to have something cool to do it. Now, if I could just go to China and buy a plant, then maybe that'd work. But every plant that I've ever bought from China, you get it home to the greenhouse and somehow our humidity is different than their humidity. It lasts for a little bit and then it's toast. It doesn't work. The other thing that happens is the government says, you're not supposed to be shipping that. You need this special certificate. And so you're spending a crazy amount of money for a plant that you're going to have to really struggle with to get it to last here. Even though origin-wise it's from here. It's the same thing with hardening your plants off. It's the same thing from China to here you have to do that. So Thailand has become really good with production. So in Japan and China, they got really good at the hybridization. Thailand took it to a whole nother level with producing things. So I'll talk to somebody in Thailand that will send me the seeds and I'll grow them myself from here. So all these seeds right here, and here's a little bit larger versions of them. These came from, where's the other?
Oh, I'm on fire. Oh, I'm on fire.
So these ones originated in Thailand, the seeds. And those are probably 2 years old. Wow. So
These are 2 years old?
So they'll be blooming next year.
Like I said, a patience bill.
That's a patience bill.
These guys are about 4 years. They started blooming last year. And you'll see the difference. These don't look like normal ones anymore.
Jerry, is there some special way you get them in flowers? Or do they just
They're just natural. Yep. So, same thing though, if I wanted to hybridize this, I collect the pollen from one plant and I put it on a different plant and mix the two, wait for the seed pod, plant my seeds, and there you go. Okay, let me back up. So, the next thing that we do, once we have seeds, I don't want to wait that amount of time, so what do I do with it? I graft it. So I take that, I cut it, just like a cutting, and I take that and then I put it on rootstock and graft it on there. This seedling's a year old. You saw those other ones, it's about the same age almost. And it's already a lot bigger, and guess what? Guess what's on top of this one? 3 flower buds. This one's called Lizard, which is one of the newest hybrids of this type of plant. So, I mean, this is right here, sped up how many generations of just putting it, just by grafting it. Then from there, you got to degraft it, and then it becomes just like a cutting where I'm looking for the aerials to come in contact with the soil and replant it. So I just pretty much used everything there. Offsets. guess what happens when you graft some of them? This is not one that had offsets before, but now it does. So every single type of propagation that I just talked about is how we hybridize all this stuff. The other thing that I'm doing is I'm growing my own rootstock now. So that's what I'm doing here. So I grow a lot of Merlot cactus from seed because it is fast growing. Because then I have a lot of it. And what I'll do when I graft this is I'll chop off the top of it and put my new seedling on. But guess what I do with this tip? So it continues the cycle and I just keep going.
Kapuna Patata
Yeah.
or whatever.
And then I got this one here that has the multiple ones growing. That's now 2 more that I'll have, and I can cut that and make more rootstock to put those on there. So this picture is, you can go to some of the cactus cells that pop up. They have a lot of them in this area. And you'll see guys with boxes like this that are all center cut, but they'll use those as rootstock. Because that cactus will get, monstrous by itself. But you know how many that'll make right there? Yeah, that's a lot of money.
570 babies.
Yeah. So, and these are some of the ungrafted ones. So after you graft it, you take it off, and these are in the media getting new roots. But that's pretty much it.
Wow.